Hey, it's your girl, Tamika Hall, and welcome to Women Who Win. I'm excited that you're here for this episode of Tamika Hall Live. I have Miss Demetria, MzMetchi Brown, that is joining me. It is always so cool when I can connect with other women who are in broadcasting, we're in PR, we do the same thing, and there isn't any competition. That's a beautiful thing, because when you can connect with a woman who doesn't feel competition, then you can have collaboration. And so I'm really excited about that. Tonight, we're going to be talking about shattering the glass ceiling and creating the business and the life that you want. Listen, if you are a mommy, if you work for somebody else, if you are an entrepreneur, whatever it might be, whatever station of life you might be in at the moment, this is the show for you, because I think we're going to dispel some myths that might be out there. And we're going to help just kind of put some things into perspective. And so, listen, if you are here, I want to be able to hear what your comments are. Not hear them. We can't hear them. I want to see your comment. And in order to do that, you need to be followed. You need to give StreamYard permission to do that. But I do want to let you know that it's completely open for you to be able to say something that you want to say, and we will flash you all on the screen and all of that great stuff. So without any further ado, once we take a quick break, I'm going to be back with Miss Demetria, MzMetchi Brown.
I Worship 96 FM Radio. Stay connected to us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at I Worship 96. Visit our website, www.iworship96.com.
So I want to ask you something. Has anybody ever told you that you're doing too much? Has anybody ever said to you that you cannot work full-time and run a business or run multiple businesses? Has anybody ever said to you, no, that's not something that women really do? If you've ever felt that way, this is the show for you. I'm really excited to bring to the virtual stage Demetria, MzMetchi Brown. What it do? How you doing?
What's going on, Tamika? How are you?
I am so great. Listen, I asked you this question the other day, but I'm gonna ask again, like, could you get any prettier?
Thank you. Look, the crazy part about it is I feel like all thuggish, ruggish bone today. I'm like,
Listen, it's snowing here, and I've been in sweatpants and stuff all day. I was like, yo,
you look good.
I was put on some sweatpants. I was like, no, I got MzMetchi coming to the stage. Let me make sure I beat the space a little bit. And
I see us. We got on our black. And stuff. We match it.
You can never go wrong with having some black on. Like we can never go wrong with having black on. So
never.
I'm really excited to have you here. We actually connected just a couple of months ago,
Mm-hmm.
and we connected when you brought me onto your show. And
yes.
On there, we were talking about my business. We talked about ministry. You made me cry.
I know. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to do that.
All those great things. But what I appreciated is that we are women who do the same thing, but there isn't competition. It's really a collaboration. Why do you think we don't have more of that in the world? You know, why don't we have more women that are willing to collaborate rather than compete?
I think, and I'll be honest with you, I think that it comes down to a lack of confidence within themselves. I can say that when I first started, business, I started off as far as in event planning. And I can remember some times when I was there, looking at other seasoned event planners and decorators and all of these women. Not that I never feel like jealousy or anything like that. That's just not a trait that I have. But I just remember feeling like, man, there are some things that I need to do a little bit better, so that I can put myself out there. And very quickly, it's very important to also have like these great people around you that'll check you when you kind of like veering off to the left. And they reminded me that it's just like, hey, you focus on your lane and what it is that you're doing, and you embrace those people and do what you need to do. So I learned very early on, before I shifted into media, that as long as you worry about yourself and you're confident in what it is that you're doing, you won't feel that competitive thing. You won't feel a need to compete with anyone because you're trying to be better than you were before, So I think it's a lack of confidence that really, it causes people to be like, oh, I don't want to deal with her. I don't want to work with her.
Yeah.
It's childish.
So, okay, so the other day, I don't know if you know, I call her Dr. Stacy Bryant. She's actually a life coach. She's incredible. I got to make
Yeah,
sure that you guys are connected.
absolutely.
Stacy posted on her wall, and I took it and I posted it, and it says something to the effect of jealousy will have you gossiping about people that you should be learning from. And when she
That
posted
part.
that, I was like, girl, that's a whole word. It is a
It
whole
is.
word. I mean, have you
Absolutely.
encountered with you now doing this? Now you're in it. Have you
Right.
encountered the jealousy? And if so, I mean, how are you dealing with it?
I have, I so much to the point that, I've had people where there were different rooms that I could, could have been in or been invited to, and they're just like, you all include MzMetchi. We don't want to be a part of it, and they kind of. Yeah, I didn't even know to me. I mean, and it surprised me because the way that I am, like, I am all about collaboration. And I told you that. I'm like, look, what can we do to, deepen our business relationship and our sisterhood with each other? So how I deal with it, honestly, I just really kind of like let it roll off my back. There's not too many things that I let get me down because, we all have our own things that we walk with on a day-to-day basis. So I can't carry what someone else may feel.
Mhm.
I can't allow that to be on my plate. So I really just kind of, I go with the mindset of, and I have to thank my dad for this. He says this quote all the time: keep it moving, you
Yes.
know, and
Yes.
and it's, 3 words, but they're so simple as far as like, when something is going on or you're upset or you feel irritated, all you got to do is keep it moving.
Just listen. And I had to do that today. And so today, so folks, before we got on here, Michi
Mm-hmm.
had to say to me, she was like, Tamika, take a moment and breathe.
Woosah.
I have been going at 1,000 all day long, like all day long. And I have an issue with perfection. And
Okay.
when I don't feel like I'm perfect and I feel like I make a mistake, I'm telling you, I actually can have a meltdown. I mean, what would
Yeah.
you say, in your rise to the top and things like, yeah, how do you what's your advice? I mean, for me, it really is perfection. I had to call my mother, I had to call one of my good friends. I was just like, I'm having a moment. My mom was like,
Right.
get some tea, get some lunch, and sit down. You're not
Sit
perfect.
down.
Everybody understands it. And I
Right.
actually made the situation bigger, and it was not big even at all. But I mean, I'm telling you, I was crying because I thought I had made a mistake, and I didn't even make a mistake. Like,
Yeah.
I had not even made a mistake at the end of the day. It was what
No, it
you have to
happens.
do. Yeah.
It happens. It really, really does. Like, so, we, and it's so nice. I love when I talk to you because it's like your plate is probably about as heavy as mine's, right? So we're doing a lot of things on a day-to-day basis. And I'll be honest with you. I had a very unhealthy habit of pushing myself until I literally just could not do it anymore.
Mm,
And now I am I'm a lot more conscious of, you need to schedule some downtime for yourself. Don't keep running yourself into the ground, because it's like, now that I'm, getting a little bit older, my body will tell me, okay, you want to
right.
keep running us around? We're about to shut down on you. So now, to kind of avoid those things, I take some time off. Like, I've been going real hard too, Tamika, and the next 2 weeks, I've let everybody know. I'm like, look, I am taking some time off. I'm going to be with my family. I want to, I need to just have a little bit of me time. So I
Yes.
make sure I schedule that time in. So even if I'm going and going and going, I know I at least have a breather on the way.
And you know what? I'm it's something I got to do too. And so I've really been pushing myself very hard because I'm like, let me push myself so that I can take a moment to breathe. So let me kind of dial it back, because when I very first asked you the question, when you very first came on, you were talking about the reason why we have more competition than collaboration has to do with confidence. Where does your confidence come from?
Oh, let me just say this, because I think that sometimes people, they see me now. With everything that I do, they see my face all the time. I was not always as confident as I am now. I A lot of it, how we speak to ourselves and what we allow, like, as far as in our space and in our environment, those things, they help to cultivate that confidence that you have. So I had to start speaking better to myself, and really taking better care of myself, really. I had to do that. These were things that I really had to incorporate to help kind of build that confidence up when it was at a low. And now I'm like this, you can't tell me nothing. But I would say that it was a process. It really, really was, because I mean, I've always been, a taller girl. I've always been bigger. We're Black women. We got a lot of things that can be against us sometimes, but I had to learn over the years to really embrace what that looks like. So yes, I'm a curvy woman. Absolutely. I am a Black woman. I'm like, look, okay, you gonna take me how I am at this point. So it really, I think for me, it started with here first, and then here. That was the only way to really like get it. And because this is the thing, you have people that have the false confidence, but it's like when you really feel it, and you feel it in your spirit, you know who you are, and you know what you have going on, it comes easy to you. And then another thing, and I also shared this with you, keeping my confidence up, a lot of it includes like, with my goals and everything, just making sure that I'm staying on top of what it is that I need to do. That helps me build the confidence to keep going and keep growing as much as I can.
So the other day I did a live, and I actually had this young boy from Nigeria ask me about the whole confidence piece. And I said the same thing. It starts in your mind.
That's right.
And it's about what you say to yourself and changing the narrative of
That's right.
what you speak to yourself. And one of the things I brought up was, there are women who will have those false pregnancies, and it's because in their mind they thought they were pregnant, and it triggered the
Right.
rest of their body to act accordingly. And I've always,
Exactly.
if you begin to speak positive things to yourself, it sounds crazy, but eventually you will
You'll
begin to
believe it.
believe it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you'll believe it. So you're in an interesting situation. I am so excited that we can chat, because whenever I'm
Okay.
in a room and I've been brought in to like speak at how to launch a business, there's always the question of, well, am I still taking my business seriously if I work another job? And I've
Right.
always said, no, work, like figure out how to work your business while
Yeah.
you work. You know what I
That's
mean? So you actually are doing just that. So first of all,
yeah.
talk to us about what even inspired you to launch your empire.
You know, I am still working.
Mm-hmm.
And what inspired me to launch my own business was being fired. I was in working in the financial industry at the time. Funny thing about it, I'll share this with you all. I so where I work right now, I literally across the street is the job that they let me go. They let me go in a few years ago, and I decided from that point, as I had some downtime, I wanted to switch industries. So when I left from the financial industry, I went into corporate real estate, and I love it. I absolutely love it. So what inspired me to do that was definitely like when they threw me out. I just remembered that feeling of going home and telling my husband, like, babe, I don't know what we're going to do, if I'm not able to, gain employment soon. We had just bought our house, and um, we we were in the process of planning our wedding, so we were about to get married, and it was just, it was a really scary time. I didn't know what was going on, so at that point I started kind of sitting down, like, okay, what do I want to do in business? Because I just never wanted to have that feeling of, okay, you've taken away all of my income at this point.
Mm-hmm.
What am I supposed to do? So I
Mm-hmm.
knew I wanted to have something of my own where I was in the driver's seat of how much I made, when I wanted to work, when I didn't want to work. So yeah, that was really the driving force. Like when they threw me out on my butt that day, I rode the metro train home that day, and I cried. I'll never forget. I was on the phone with my auntie, and I said, "What am I going to do?" I
Mm.
gave them everything. I did everything for this job, and they just kicked me out on my butt like this. Like, what am I supposed to do? And I told myself I never wanted to feel that again.
And I'll tell you, I think a lot of stories will do that. I remember saying, you know what? I'm gonna go full force and just do this, because at that initially I'd been what's laid off. I was
Okay.
laid off
Right.
because the position that I worked was funded by grants and stuff. And I remember saying to myself, I am so sick of other people having control over, like you said, over what I make, if I'm going to work. And at the time, the reason why I found out is because I guess I was the angry Black woman, and I chose to ask because they weren't telling us what was happening, but I
Right.
was paying attention to what was happening in the state. And so I finally at a meeting was like, yo, like, what's going on? Do we
Right.
have a job next year when we come back to school? Like, what is it? And then that is when they explained it to us. This had to be March or April of that
Right.
particular school year. And I was running a program and all that stuff. But I remember being so angry because I was like, you guys have known this since January. And the
Right.
only reason why you said something today is because I said something to you.
Right. Right.
And
They would have just sprung that on you all. And
yes,
the crazy part about it is the day that they let me go, I had just come off of Christmas vacation. My husband had proposed to me on Christmas Eve, going into Christmas Day. We had like a small little party. So I was so excited to come back. I'm like, I got the ring, y'all. You know, I'm like, I was excited. And I could not even sit down at my desk quick enough before they came over and they're just like, yeah, we need to talk to you. And I'm just like,
the voice,
right.
the
I'm like, so at the top of the
voice.
year, I'm planning a wedding. I had just gotten a house, you know, like all of these different things. You know, Black people, I'm sorry, we see dollar signs when it comes to certain things. It's just like,
Yes.
what am
Yeah.
I supposed to do? You know, and it's just, it will change your entire, you know, mind, just like as far as how you need to maneuver and conduct yourself, you know?
Yeah. So talk to us about when you actually did the shift and you launched your company. Tell us what your companies are. Yeah, tell us what they are.
Okay.
So
So
wait, did you all
when
at
I
the
first
same time?
started,
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you launch them all at the same time, or did you start one at a time?
so I'll walk you through the timeline.
Okay.
Go on the journey with me. So when I
Yes.
first started, I started the Blueprint Events Company. That was my event planning and, you know, coordination, decor, all of that stuff. And I'll be honest, I discovered that it was not 1,000% my lane. I did stick with it, but during that time, closer to when I stopped, you know, really doing like the events and everything, I was able to participate on a show called well, geez, what was the show? Build a Boss Radio. So it's Build a
Ah,
Boss Radio. I had two other hosts with me, and it was a short-lived experience because when I tell you everyone's business started just kind of like taking off at that point, it's, you know, so we decided to end that show, I believe, after about 4 or 5 episodes. But at that point, I was like, I love being in the studio. I like having a show, you know, and I was looking for some ways to really amplify my event planning business. So the crazy thing about it is that I started the Blueprint Radio, which is it's now called the Blueprint Live. I've, you know, hey, you have to pivot in business. That's the thing. But
this
I
is a breathing entity.
exactly. So I did. I started the Blueprint Radio. I joined forces with My Radio Chicago. So I love them. Still, they're like family to me. And I, you know, had my show on there. It's actually January. I'll be celebrating 2 years since I first launched that show. And so it was a show at first, right? I'm still doing everything under the Blueprint Events Company. And then, you know, I knew for sure that I wanted to step away from that. I was just like, you know what? My heart's not in it. I love media. I want to continue to do that. So at that point, I shifted and I transitioned to the Blueprint Media Company, where basically, you know, I started doing marketing and promotions for small businesses and artists around the Chicagoland area. And then it also became the home for my shows. You know, the Blueprint Radio transition to the Blueprint Live. I've got MzMetchi One-on-One, and then a podcast called Corporate Chronicles, so
Okay.
that I could, you know, help other people that look like me really survive and thrive in the corporate space, because sometimes it's not really meant for us. So I knew that I wanted to do something to give back as far as that was concerned.
I love that. I love it. And I love what you said about you have to pivot in business, because I mean, business, we honestly sometimes you pivot because your customers tell you what they need. Sometimes
Right.
you because like you said earlier, you realize, okay, maybe this is not totally my lane, or honestly, maybe I just don't like it. You
I
know
didn't
what
like it anymore, Tamika. I'll be honest with you. I didn't. I'm like, you know what? It's bringing me more stress than happiness. And I'm like, it's feeling more like my daytime job than my own business where I should be happy and be at peace. So I let it go.
So for the people that are trying to balance, working, running a business, how exactly do you do that? Like how do you balance working full time, you're a wifey, all that good stuff, and you run multiple businesses?
It's difficult. It has its challenges. Like I said, we were discussing before we went live. I'm like, I can't wait to take some time off before the end of the year. But
Yeah.
this is the thing. What I like to keep at the forefront of my mind is if I can go to work and give them 110% and make sure that I am sharp and I'm on it and I'm meeting deadlines and doing all of these things, I have to give my business the equal time and effort, to really make it grow. So a lot of it really, people laugh at me. I have my little book somewhere handy, but I keep an actual organizer. And
Yes.
I kind of plot out everything. My dad, people that know me intricately, they know that like my dad has MS. So it is a priority for me to spend time with family, specifically him. So like Tuesdays is blocked out. If you ask me to do something, that is my day to spend with my father. I have to literally plan things out for myself. So I'm like, okay, I know I go to work at this time. I need to interview on this day. I got the show on this day. I literally have to sit down and put it on paper. And then my husband gets on me. I have to put it on my Google Calendar too.
Yes.
But
Yes.
it takes a lot of planning. And I'll be honest with you, it's some days I get up and I'm just like, I don't feel like it today.
Talk about it. I didn't feel like it today. I
And
didn't.
I don't know what it is to me. I don't know where the strength or the energy comes from,
Yes.
but I always push through, even when I don't feel like it.
And do you feel like, so what is the feeling like at the end of a day that you knew when you woke up, you were like, yo, I do not feel like rolling out of bed? What is that personal feeling that you experience?
I feel accomplished. I feel accomplished at that moment because, I have a greater goal. Anyone that knows me knows that, like, I'm not just doing this. Some people do it for clout. The crazy part about it is you said I made you cry on MzMetchi one-on-one. My last one that I just recorded this weekend, cried like a baby, Tamika.
Oh,
People think that like I'm doing the media, or I'm doing this for for money or for fame or for clout. Tamika, I don't want any of that. I need access. Okay. I'm
hello.
talking about the access like how some of these celebrities have, where, if they're sick, they get the top of the line doctors, vaccines, whatever it is that they need. That's what I'm fighting for in my life, for myself, my family, the children that I don't have yet. I want to be able to have that access as far as with things, or at least be able to be in certain rooms that I'm not privy to right now. So when I have a day where I'm just like this, I had 10 things on my list and I accomplished that and then some, I feel really, really good. I feel like I'm that much closer to reaching my goal of being, a well-known, person in media that, I can help others and be very respected in the industry.
And a lot of people don't realize that a lot of times you really do have to create your own seat at the table. You know
Right.
what I mean? A lot of times we sit back, and whether somebody's written a book, you obviously, you might have a business, maybe you're in, entertainment on some level.
Right.
Sometimes you have to create your own seat at the table so that you can have access. And
That's
there
right.
is possible to bust through the glass ceiling.
That's right.
It's possible to, kind of carve out your own copy of a key and open doors
That's
that
right.
open for you had you not created your own seat at the table. Let's talk about the glass ceiling. So you
Okay.
said you were initially fired from a financial institution, and now you've chosen to go into a very male dominated industry on several different levels.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the same one. So,
Right.
how do you navigate it? Do you
I
even feel it?
well, you said, do I feel it?
Yeah, do you even feel
The,
like
oh yeah, like
yeah.
especially when I was doing when I was with my Radio Chicago and the internet radio, you could feel like even sometimes when you go into the studio, it's like that energy of like, and who is this? Because me, I'm real like, oh, everything has to be together. I'm like you in that sense. I'm like, okay, and they would laugh at us. It's so funny. My mentor, he would laugh when he would come up to the studio sometimes because when we would go in, I'd bring my little perfume and spray. We were wiping up. I'm like, I want it to be clean. I want it to be good vibes when you come in here to do the show. And, and that's just how I do things. So yeah, that's a hard question. I feel it, but I have just gotten to a place where I don't pay attention to it anymore because I'm like, you know what? What's for me is for me. If you like me, you like me, and if you don't, you don't. I'm like, I'm again, when you're doing it and you're trying to reach your personal goals and you're trying to do things, all of that stuff it's like it's in the background to me. I'm like, okay, you don't want me to be here because I'm a woman. Guess what? I'm still gonna show up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really do like what you said. I think that's good. Like, you're dropping some really golden nuggets here, folks. I hope that you are picking up what she's putting down. We're talking about shattering glass ceilings and creating the business and the life that you want. And you've just given us so many gems from the beginning even until now. Okay, so I'm really going to deviate kind of from this because when you talked about going into the studio, spraying your little smell goods and stuff, okay, what is I want to know what your ritual is before you like interview somebody or you go on an interview. For me, I always have to spray some perfume. I always brush my teeth.
Yes.
And
that's number one.
yes, I'm always figuring out that my elbows are ashy. It doesn't matter if I put lotion on 5 minutes before, right before. I don't even know if no, you probably didn't notice because I was so frazzled before we sat down.
I didn't notice.
Like this. Because like I'm always afraid that I'm ashy. So like,
no, you're not at all.
Listen, every show I always do that. So like, do you have a ritual before you go live or you interview somebody?
So okay, it's a little bit different. So because now that I'm at home, I typically like kind of like get everything together, but everyone knows I always have to have something to drink. Yeah. Now on the Blueprint Live, I'll be honest, that's a little bit of a different show. So, it's not just water in that cup. It might be a little wine and, whatever we're having as a cocktail. But I make sure that I go, and it's so funny. Before I press start for anything, I just take a moment. I take a moment because most of the time when I was doing the show, before I transitioned to my home studio, I was coming from work. So I was like, I got to work all day, go to the show. I'm like, okay, let's get the mood right in here. So that's my biggest thing. I make sure I have something to drink. And, I have to make sure it's like smelling good. I usually have like, test the lighting and do all of those things, just like normal stuff. But this, I do it every time before I press play. Wait, you can't see it. Just a moment, because it's like we can be rattled through the day, and if something went on or your coworker did too much, and you just like, you know what? Let's just take a moment before we do anything, because I'm a firm believer of you don't want your audience to feel your energy.
And that was good, and I was really happy that you were like me. Just take a moment. I was like, you're right.
Yeah,
that's okay about. Okay, we're just gonna go on maybe a minute late, but I needed a moment. Like I really needed to breathe because I had been going since about 7 o'clock this morning.
Yeah. I've been up since 5:30, so I'm just like this. I just don't want my eyes to look tired. I'm like, Tamika's gonna be like, girl, you need to go get some sleep.
Yes. So, okay. So even in the middle of the shutdown and everything that we've experienced in 2020, you are still growing and launching and moving. So talk to us about your newest venture.
Lavish Looks by MzMetchi. So I tell everyone that is like my COVID born business. Yes. Really excited about it. I spoke a little bit earlier as far as like you got to have those good people around you, and I am so thankful for two of my girlfriends, Whitney from New Our Girl. She actually, I was talking to her and I said, you know what? I said, I'm looking for some other ways to generate revenue for my business. What is something that you think that I can do? And anyone that knows me knows that I keep a fly pair of shades. I always have. I don't need them to be name brand. I don't need the Fendi pair or anything like that. I just need a nice pair of shades that look fly with my outfit. And she, she of course reminded me of that. And as soon as she said it, I literally had the entire business model and inventory and packaging. I stayed up to about 3 o'clock that morning because I was furloughed from my previous job at that point. So I was just like, let me stay up and get it together. So I launched that in mid-May of this year. And things really started picking up the first part of June, but it's luxury, eyewear for the modern woman. I want you to feel lavish, just even down to my packaging and the frames that I choose. They're different. It's not something that you're going to see on another lady or anything like that. So I love it, Tamika, and I'm so happy for it. I didn't, it's so crazy that I had probably like 30 pairs of glasses at one point, just that I've collected and everything. And then I was like, I can start my own collection.
I love that. So how have people responded to it? Because you're actually still going strong, even though for us, it's like, in winter time, but you're still.
Yeah, you got to protect those eyes in all seasons. I tell them, even if you go outside right now, if you went outside in the morning time, and even if it was snow on the ground, that snow is bright. Yes. You should still have something to be protecting your eyes. And I try to make sure that with at least 80% of the frames that I have, it's not just for fashion. They're going to actually protect your eyes too. So, and right now, some people think that like with certain businesses, I have to shut down because it's the wintertime. I'm like, it's not the wintertime all over the world or all over the US.
Come on.
Okay, so now I've kind of changed it up. So if ladies want to purchase from me in Illinois, of course, you can. But I am marketing to other places where it's still hot and the sun is very much so shining.
Absolutely. Now, okay, so you're also an influencer. So people now are booking you to rock lipstick, hats, clothes. Like you're an influencer. How do you balance having your own fashion brand with being an influencer for other people? Because I'm sure somebody is thinking that, like they're wondering, like, how does that happen?
So, the biggest thing is that anyone that comes to me that's looking for me to start a brand ambassadorship with them, I let them know that over here we do collaboration. So you're going to see me rocking my frames. This is Gems by Jazz hair. I'm going to have Pouty Girl on my lips. It's about bringing it together. I am, as I'm shifting in my life and I'm trying to, grow as a media personality, grow my business. I also want to let people into, it's a lifestyle, honestly. Like the ladies that I am partnered with as far as with their businesses, I haven't bought lip gloss from anybody except for Pouty Girls and Noir Girl. I don't need to. I'm like, these are my brands that I genuinely love them. I don't need to go to Sephora. I don't need to do that. I don't need to go to the beauty supply because Gems by Jazz or Stay Ready has me. I genuinely try to incorporate them into my life, So it's easy to balance it because it's just like, these are things that I would use anyway. These are products that I would personally go out and buy. So it's an honor to even be able to promote their businesses and to help them get more exposure.
I think it's a beautiful thing when women can work together in that way. I mean, this just brings it all the way back full circle to the way we started when it's collaboration, not competition, because like you said, it would be crazy for somebody to say to you, okay, I want you to rock my lipstick, but you can't wear anything else and you can't talk about anybody else. Like that just wouldn't make any sense. And you're right about the fact that we will literally support all these big box brands when we know as businesswomen, we put just as much into our product, our quality. Our product is of the same quality.
That's right.
These other brands, and people don't support necessarily, So
right.
Yeah. So I love the fact that you're doing that. So tell us, how can we connect with you? How can we buy the products?
Okay.
Listen, it's so funny because your list is longer than mine. So
no, don't say that. It's there. It's growing. It's growing.
Tamika, we don't know what to say. I'm like, just send them to TamikaHall.com. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, you know what? It's really simple to to find me on social platforms. It's at MzMetchi. So you've got it right on the screen there. If you type that in on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, what else do they have out? It's so many apps. Clubhouse. I'm a TikToker, yes. So you can find me on there. Literally, you can find me on all of those sites. And then also, if you are interested in some of the content that I have as far as with the Blueprint Live or Corporate Chronicles or MzMetchi One-on-One, and I also have some other partners media wise that I put on there, including Tamika. You gotta. I love my people, so you can also find content on there. You can look at the BP Media Co. And you'll be able to find us on all social platforms. If you want to shop the lavish looks by MzMetchi, just visit MzMetchi.com/shop. And that's pretty much it. I mean, learn more about me. I've definitely, I do promotions, I make commercials, I do voiceovers, whatever it is that that you are needing to really help promote and grow your business. I tell everybody, I just want to be a part of it. I'm like, I want to get it out to my network. It's all about when we promote, people don't know me on your side. People may not know you on my side. So let's bring it together and expand our networks and expand what we're trying to do. So that's pretty much it.
Us working together, we can open doors for each other. It's definitely a beautiful thing. And I just thank you so much for being here and sharing so many great nuggets with us on tonight. I'm really grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Tamika, and I love what you're doing, and I'm so grateful to be on your platform too, because I was like this, I want to come on your show too. So yeah, I love what
works.
Yes, no, I love what you're doing, and just all the people that you're working with, you all are definitely making an impact, and I'm very happy to be a part of it.
Amen. Amen. Well, listen, guys, look, I'm so excited that you all just hung out with us tonight. This was a great evening talking about women who win. I love bringing you women that are winning all around the globe every single Wednesday, because that's what it's all about. I want you to make sure that you connect with my dear friend, MzMetchi. Go to MzMetchi, that's MZ. You see it right here on the ticker. Well, wait, let me go the way. There it is. So make sure that you connect with her. For all the many things that she's doing, whether you want her to be a brand ambassador, whether you're wanting to get onto her platform, whatever it might be, make sure that you stay connected. But I want you to remember that the ceiling is never too high for you to be able to bust through it. If God gave you a vision, then I want you to pray about divine strategy. This is something I talked about the other day. Pray about divine strategy so that he can give you the wisdom on how to move. It doesn't always take a lot of money. I started businesses with $50, so it doesn't take a lot of money to necessarily get started if you don't have it. Don't allow those things to be a reason why you don't pick up and begin something that God has given to you. We can spend the rest of our lives dreaming, right? But at some point, you got to wake up. All right. Some point you got to wake up, and you can't spend your whole life having a vision, because you can have a vision and you can see something all day long. But if you don't move, nothing is going to happen. So I just want to implore you to move on what God has given you, whether that is you doing research, whether that's you picking up the phone and calling people, get the website together, order the business cards, go to the next level. It's definitely time for that. Listen, remember that I love you. Remember that you were created to make God famous. I'm Tamika Hall. And until next week, I said everything I wanted to say. Listen, y'all, I love y'all. Good night. I'm tired. Okay. Y'all have a good one.